Welcome friends. Okay, this video turns out very different than I originally intended. So I tried something new and I hated the result and I started beating myself up. But then I thought, why? Why am I beating myself up? And it was completely unnecessary. And I fall back on some strengths that I knew that I had, or at least things that I can quite competently do, and fix it up to a certain point. And now it's not a masterpiece, but I'm happy with it and I'm proud that I did it. So perhaps you know how I felt, and I wanted to share this with you in case you might perhaps need a little motivational boost to try something new. So let's get started. Have you seen that mega catchy title in the title screen? That's because I do not really right now have a better title for it. But let's start at the beginning. It all started with a very good friend of mine asking for an Ursula, Disney's Ursula. I reluctantly agreed. Why was I so reluctant? Because Ursulas or comic characters like that is not exactly what I normally do. If you have seen my portraits, I've drawn a lot of superheroes, Disney characters, Marvel characters, for that regard, yes, but in a more realistic style. And I draw from a reference image. I also do not invent those faces. So I said, okay, I have worked a little bit, I dabbled with color. Perhaps you've seen my vision portrait. That turned out pretty okay. I was really happy with that. Why not try this? But to be clear, not calling out that friend of mine. Not at all. He had a valid request. But what is not that obvious is asking a pencil portrait artist that works on basis of reference images, like I do, to draw something completely out of the comfort zone, like comic style, comic character in color, can work out, doesn't necessarily have to. That's just not a skill that I have. It's like asking somebody who can play the guitar perfectly to play your song on the piano perfectly. There are people out there that can do that. And I'm very envious of them, but just because they can do the one thing doesn't mean they can do the other thing. If you are an artist, never feel bad about not being able to do it all. All of the different art forms, all the different materials you have to learn. So I picked a picture and went my normal way. Did a slight pencil picture of what I wanted to do, and then I went in with the colors. Perhaps you know from my vision portrait that I am partially colorblind. So I try to use the colors I have without mixing new colors, because if I run out of that color, it is very improbable that I will hit that exact color again. So I try to use what is in the box. But this is not about my color blindness, so let's move on. And this is what I, at that point in time, thought was the final result. Honestly, I was extremely frustrated and I hated it. It is nowhere near what I expect of myself, but when you consider a pencil portrait, I don't have experience in this. And this whole experience here with this picture renewed my already high respect I have towards all of you watercolor artists. It's not a simple medium. And while this is not terrible, I was so unhappy with what I produced. And two things were to change to fix that, while in the background you already see how I was fixing it to get it to something I was happy with. Number one, fix my attitude. Really, why am I mad at myself for trying for about the second time anything with color and not producing something that you could call a masterpiece? How could I? That is quite arrogant to tell you the truth. So don't expect too much from yourself. Just because you're good at the one thing doesn't mean you will be perfect from the start in the next thing. Cut yourself some slack. And number two, I looked at what I did not like about the picture. I tried to rationalize it. And I always talk about contrast, for example. It is pretty flat. It does not have any shading. I'm doing a lot of shading in my pencil work. So I thought about what worked with the Vision one, and with the Vision portrait, I added a bit of shading by layering the colors and also introducing a little black. I did not want to introduce black here because this is comic, but I layered the colors and that way I got a little bit of depth, some kind of shading. Not the exact shading, of course, like you do in pencil portraits, but watercolorized kind of shading, basically. And that gave it more depth, and that, for my own taste at least, immediately helped. Which leaves us with this result. It is not the best watercolor picture that you have ever seen. And that's totally okay. It is good. It is not bad. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of what it reminded me and what I learned today about myself and watercolor art. I hope it gives you a little bit of motivation not to beat yourself up if you try new stuff. Try new stuff. Forgive yourself for not performing the first time like you would have hoped you would. Don't give up and remember your strengths. Learn from it and try again. Have you experienced stuff like that yourself? Let me know in the comments. I would be really glad to hear some of your experiences. And that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like this little excursus into not being that hard on yourself, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe so you can come back for the future videos. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time. Goodbye.